All right, I guess we'll start out talking about who came over to America. Who was it? That
My
first,
mother.
your mother? What was
My
her name?
father was born in the U.S.
What was your mother's name?
My mother's maiden name was Uttech.
Wow.
Uttecht.
And what country was she from?
Well, at that time it was Russia. Now it's Romania. But at that time when she lived there, where she grew up, till she was 9 years old, it was Russia, near the Black Sea.
But they spoke German.
Uh, yeah, not High German like we were taught. They spoke, my mother talked Swabish. My father talked Komish. We understood both of them.
It was a lot like German, though.
But they would not let us speak those two languages.
Why not?
They didn't like it. They thought we should learn High German. That is more the pure German.
But you're living in America. Why speak German?
Well, the whole area where we grew up, there was a German church and everything. It was all German and Hungarian.
No one did. Anyone speak English, or was everyone
They all
spoke
had to
German?
learn English. When we went to school, there was no teacher there that spoke both languages. Even if they knew how, they were not allowed to.
Wow.
We had to learn English off the bat.
And what year did she come over?
My mother came over in 1901.
And why did she come over?
Well, the Bolsheviks were 30 kilometers from where my grandparents lived. And they were maiming people, not killing them, they were maiming them. And
Why?
taking anything they want. And now I don't know how far 30 kilometers is. But anyway, my grandfather's side, my mother's father, had decided they all would leave at once. His brothers, his sister, and my grandmother only had her mother left. All the rest were dead. So they all left at once. Everything they could carry with them when they left. That was it. And they went through, I don't know where they caught the train. I don't remember. And I can't ask anybody anymore because my mother's dead and my grandparents are dead. And they went through Berlin trying to get on a liner. I don't know whether it was a Germany or France. The liner wouldn't take it
How come?
because my grandfather was a cripple. And my great aunt Rosina couldn't talk. She was tongue-tied. She could make noises, but couldn't pronounce words. And Aunt Rosalie had little sores on her head. She was only about 2 or 3 years old. Maybe 3 or 4, I should say, because Olga died on the train. She was 2 years old.
What did she die of?
I don't know. They don't know that she just ran a high fever and died on my grandmother's lap.
Hmm.
And they didn't get off the train in Berlin, but some people said they would bury her. My grandparents never even knew where Olga was buried because people said they'd take care of her. But when they got the liner wouldn't take them, so they had to get on a freighter. That freighter took anything that the liners wouldn't take, but it cost them more money. And they took soldiers who were running away from different countries to get out of the service and everything else. There was all kinds of people on that freighter. They were on the water over 2 weeks. Some days they stood still, didn't move. Just blew their horns, that's all they did, because of the fog, so they wouldn't run into each other. Twice the boat was going to sink. The first time my mother told us she never heard so much screaming and praying in her life as she did when the first time they were told to get on deck the boat was sinking. Well, they got it patched up. I don't know where the hole was, I don't remember. The second time, at that time they still had pirates on sea. A hole was drilled in, and that was found right away. But again, the people were alerted to get on the deck, and they didn't have enough boats to take everybody. There was only a few people that could be saved, and they got that patched up. So they were almost 3 weeks on the sea before they got to Ellis Island. Then Ellis Island would not let him get off. Again, because of my grandfather's crippled leg, and because of my great aunt Rosina not being able to talk. I guess in those days they figured that a disease or something. So the next stop was Nova Scotia. They got off at Nova Scotia. I don't know how they traveled up to Winnipeg, Canada. There they lived a year. A house with no floors, just the dirt, straw for beds. They had no furniture, nothing. My grandfather fixed a couple of chairs out of wood, a table, and some eating utensils. Children had to sit on the floor. And then they came across the border to the Dakotas, homesteaded at Highmore, South Dakota. I don't know how long they lived there. I don't remember. I think my grandmother told us how long, but I don't remember.
How old was your mom when reached Dakotas?
When they come over, she was 9 years old. And she said she had a lot of fun on the ship. They, they had a lot of Turkish soldiers on there. And they wore those baggy pants. Have you seen pictures of them?
Yeah.
And she said they thought every child on there thought that was funny. When they danced a lot, and they couldn't speak Turkish, and the Turkish couldn't speak their language. So they went to their parents, and they really hammered at them to keep the kids quiet. That's what they figured they were saying. But she said, we went right back after we were told not to say anything or watch them dance, and we laughed some more. And she said they had a lot of fun, I guess. I guess children don't take it as badly as grown-ups do. I mean, she didn't think of the consequences, what would happen if they go down in the deep sea.
So how about your father? He was born in the Dakotas?
He was born about a quarter of a mile from where we lived, where I grew up. His father came over from near the same area, near the Black Sea, but another town, when he was 14.
Oh.
And they homesteaded in South Dakota. And I don't know how many years they lived there, but all the children were born there. All of them got married there until he retired. Well, Grandpa really died before he retired, but then Grandma lived to be 95 years old, almost 96. And it was maybe a quarter of a mile from where I grew up. See, at that time, a lot of parents would give land to their sons, not to their daughters, just the sons. And my dad was given 160 acres. And all it had on there when he was given the land was a sod house.
What's that?
That's a house built of blocks of straw and mud and I don't know what else, about 24 inches thick. Very warm in wintertime and very cool in summertime. That is when they're built good. But ours was wearing down. The outside was cemented so the rain wouldn't wash the dirt down. And of course the cement started breaking off and it had a few leaks in it already that the wind came buzzing through. And I think I was 16 or 17 when my dad tore it down finally.
Built a new house?
No, he bought one. A 7-room house for $700.
Wow. Was it? It wasn't on the farm though.
Yeah, but at that time, property was a lot cheaper than it is now.
No.
That was in the 30s, early 30s, 1930s. Yeah, he bought it at Beardsley. Beardsley is what we call the one-half horse town. They had an elevator, a grocery store, and a post office, and that was about it. And I think the most people that ever lived there was about 50 people. That's counting children, too.
Right.
So they were slowly moving out, the families, and my dad bought it, my dad, and of course he had to pay the movers. So the whole thing cost him $700. One room was not finished upstairs. There was 3 rooms upstairs and 4 big rooms downstairs. And we built a basement. And well, I was there until I was about 17. Then I was going here and there.
Okay, let's see. What year were you born?
1916.
1916. And did they have a movie theater in town when you
No.
were young?
That came later. That was in the late 20s when they finally opened up a theater. And that was only showing on weekends,
Yeah.
not during the week.
So this is late 20s. So you were late teens then, about.
In the early teens. Mr. Webb, I remember his name. He opened up the first theater in the town where I grew up.
Well, do you remember some of the movies that they would show?
The first one that I ever saw in my life, the teacher wanted us to go. There was a 6th grade teacher. All Quiet on the Western Front. That was the first one I ever saw. And I don't know if I remember the second one, but I did walk out on one of them. I know I did. And that's the charge of the Light Brigade. I couldn't take it when they started shooting all those people. If you know what the charge of the Light Brigade is.
No.
An English movie of war. And I walked out of the theater. And when I was in my early teens, my brothers and I, at Scotland, that's South Dakota, we always went someplace on 4th of July. They had big celebrations, parade and everything. And we went in the theater, which was only 10 cents. Not realizing that the noon whistle would blow. They always blew the noon whistles to tell everybody it was noon. And we ran out of the theater. We were in there not even 10 minutes. And one of the shows that I remember that we saw in there was Buster Brown. They were all short, I guess they call them short films. But he was a very mischievous boy, you know, Buster Brown.
No, he's a shoe.
He was always making trouble and got himself in trouble. Like the one time that we saw him that time was when he put a skunk through the window in the schoolroom. I mean, that's what he was doing, and everybody thought they were funny.
No. You haven't seen it lately, though, right?
No, they don't show any Buster Browns. I don't know if they're not able to.
I think they might have lost it.
Maybe some of the old films are not able to make on tape or anything.
Yeah.
Because these were really old,
Right.
made in the 20s.
Do you
Like the Keystone Cops. And
do you remember what your first movie you saw with sound was?
what?
With sound? Do you remember what the first movie you saw
That
was?
was at Parkson where I grew up.
Yeah. Do you remember what movie it was?
It was All Quiet on the Western Front.
That was with sound?
That was the first one I ever saw.
Yeah, that's why you walked out.
And my folks didn't really believe much in going to the movies, but they did take us because the teacher requested it.
Right.
We were studying history at that time, about World War II. No, World War I. And they wanted us to see that movie. And then when Webb got better known in town, Friday nights were family night.
Is it Amity?
Yeah. The whole family got in, no matter how big the family was, for 50 cents. That was